Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Legal Blogging Beyond the Basics. Today we're going to be going over a lot of advanced topics that really are not so complicated. If you are joining us for the first time, my name is Dan Jaffe. I'm an attorney and I'm the CEO and co-founder of LawLytics. I founded LawLytics with a simple mission to become the leading website marketing system for owners of small law firms that helps them predictably grow their businesses without wasting time or money. The way that I looked at it, there needed to be a middle ground. Unlike the overpriced marketing companies, we provide lawyers with everything they need to thrive online. We protect them from spending money on things they don't need, so our members get fair value without overpaying. And then on the low end of the scale, unlike low-end software, our innovation award-winning system was built exclusively for lawyers and requires no tech experience. So our members really don't struggle and they don't miss opportunities. For most of you, that's not news. I see that most of the people in attendance today are already LawLytics members and have been with us for months or years and have already attended many of these webinars. For those of you who haven't attended and don't know me and what I stand for, the purpose behind LawLytics is to save the legal profession by helping attorneys become great at marketing their practices online and incorporating the internet into their long-term business strategies. When lawyers partner with us to create sustainable online marketing infrastructure, the quality of their practices and of their lives improve. And I really believe that this creates a virtuous cycle that raises the overall quality of attorneys and the overall quality of the bar. With that, today's webinar is not going to be a how to trick Google, how to get results that you haven't earned or anything. Today really goes into the heart of what online communication using a law firm blog really is. If you haven't yet attended our basic blogging clinic, it is available on demand. You can register and watch it at any time. That webinar goes over all of the mechanics of blogging. It goes over some of the reasons why you should be blogging. It goes over how to get information on your blog, how to do everything that you need to do to be able to get started. If you are new to blogging, that's okay, because this is going to give you a theoretical foundation that you won't get in the other webinar, and then you can always double back and do that. I'm happy to say that most of the LawLytics members that I see here have been either blogging regularly or engaging us to help them with their blog through our writing department. But in terms of actually creating a foundation to go into these more advanced topics that we're going to be talking about, the threshold questions are really, are you blogging? If you're not, then there's no better time to get started than now. How frequently are you blogging? If you blog once every couple months or even once a month, you probably aren't doing it frequently enough to be making much of an impact to be able to utilize the concepts that we're going to be talking about today. And that's okay, because it takes some time to get up to speed on it. It takes some time to get into a rhythm. And most of all, it takes time to make blogging start to seem like fun to you. And what we've noticed with our members is that when they start blogging in a meaningful way and engaging, they actually start having fun. And the fun is mostly produced based on the positive rewards that they get, because they see not only are people interacting with their blog, but they're getting referrals from it and they're getting new clients from it. So what is blogging about? When it really comes down to it, it's about thought leadership. At its core, it's basically communication. And people follow you as an attorney or other attorneys in your firm. They don't follow your blog. They don't follow entities like firms. And people, when they make referrals to you, they're making a referral usually specifically to you or another attorney in your firm, not to the blog, the website, or the entity. And so really what advanced blogging is about is that human element. So at its core, your blog is a conversation, and it's about leading people to engage in conversations with you. And if you don't listen to people online, you can't lead. And to be appreciated, you have to appreciate. And so we're going to get into all of that in just a moment. But it really comes down to sharing online, sharing not only links to the various topics that you're blogging about, and to your blog post itself for that matter, but sharing your thoughts and sharing what other people are thinking about as well. So we've established that blogging is basically about caring and showing that you care, and that's really all we're referring to when we use the term advanced blogging. The mechanics, the basics of it, are the more challenging thing, and most lawyers get the hang of that within a couple hours of really working on their blog, especially within our system. But I want to make a distinction because it's profoundly different than what most marketers are trying to sell. It's not advertising in its pure sense. It's not marketing, and it's not SEO. Certainly, it has those ancillary benefits, but in and of itself, the purpose of writing your blog and engaging in these tactics that we're going to be talking about should not be any of these things. So the first question is, who are you listening to? So a lot of lawyers, when they start blogging, they think about their blog in a vacuum, and they think about it more like a soapbox or a megaphone than a two-way conversation. And so the first thing that we like to encourage lawyers to do when they're really starting to branch out and reach out with their blog is to follow other thought leaders. If you haven't created a foundation on your own blog with worthwhile content for those thought leaders to come back to, one, it's a good way of seeing what other people are doing when they're doing it at a high level, give you something to emulate. But also, when you go and you start engaging these thought leaders, and we'll talk about this in a moment, it makes sense for you to have gone through some of the basics, for you to have a foundation of content built up. So when you get the attention of these thought leaders who are already doing this at a high level, and they come to your website, they don't just see that there's nothing there and go away. It's very important to keep up with trending online conversations that are specifically relevant to your practice. And I know that sounds like a lot to some lawyers, but it really isn't too big of a deal, because as a lawyer, keeping your ear to the ground with things that are going on in your practice and in your local area, you're pretty much already doing this anyways. You might be reading advanced sheets. You might be paying attention to legislation that's going on. You're talking with other lawyers in your network. You're not practicing law in a vacuum. And blogging and following thought leaders is really just an extension of this, because you can reach well beyond your local networks and find people really all over the country and all over the world, for that matter, to engage in, who will be able to ultimately help you grow your practice through blogging. So how do you find these lawyers to listen to? Because there's a lot of them out there, but unfortunately, there is an ocean of noise as well. So how do you find the signal? Well, for those of you who are on LawLytics, the LawLytics network is a great place to start. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail later on. And if you haven't used it, it's definitely worth exploring within your LawLytics control panel. And then there's social media. And I don't want to put a blanket statement on that and say all social media, because what happens is we see lawyers that hear that they need to use social media to reach out and influence people online, and that certainly is the case. But there's only so many properties or destinations in social media that really add a lot of value for lawyers. And I've listed those here: LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Anything else provides maybe some additional marginal return. So if you are already doing those three things well and already blogging at a very high level and so forth, then it might be worth looking into other social media outlets. But until then, stick with those three. And if you're not already active on one of those, you don't need to worry about that one. Tap the networks that you have. Start really working on those, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. legal associations that you belong to, especially ones that are more than just local in scope, are really great places to find thought leaders. And so, like if you're a member of a national organization and they have a listserv or they have other ways of sharing information amongst members, see who's doing the most talking on there. See if they have a blog. Ask other people when you go to seminars, when you go to meetings and so forth. Do they blog? Because there may be situations where you're only, if you're only scratching the surface, you may only be seeing those local attorneys who are doing it at a very low level by employing SEO people and buying disposable advertising and so forth. And while that sometimes serves its purpose as an interim way of getting business to a law practice, what it does not do is provide you or those firms any kind of lasting benefit that goes beyond the ad spend. And so a lot of times, what we'll see there is, yeah, other attorneys are aware of the ones who are the big spenders in their area because they're bidding on the high level keywords, but there's really no substance there. So it's a good way to connect. And if you are new to blogging and you don't find anybody locally, I don't see that as a drawback. I see that as a huge opportunity for you, because not only can you easily claim thought leadership, but if you and another attorney or attorneys, maybe in firms that have similar but maybe not completely overlapping practice areas or jurisdictions, if you get together and you start blogging and you start reading each other's blogs, commenting on them, we'll get to that in a moment, and sharing them, then it can create it can create an amplifying effect very quickly. And then finally, one way that you can really find good blogs that are leading the way is by using Google and the other search engines, not really to type in like Los Angeles divorce lawyer or Seattle DUI lawyer or something like that. High level searches like that aren't really useful for finding thought leadership. It would be more like either typing in Seattle DUI lawyer blog, or typing in questions that they may be addressing on their blog, especially in regards to current trending topics that are relevant to your practice. So the thing is, look around. The LawLytics network is probably the easiest way for those of you who are LawLytics members to start discovering it, and then you can build from there. And then the question becomes, who is listening to you? And it's really the other side to that same coin. Why would other lawyers read your blog? What would make them care about what you're saying and about you? And then finally, what would make them share the blog post that they're reading from you? Why do lawyers read your blog? Usually they read it because of really only one thing. They're getting additional information. They may be reading it for competitive intelligence, but most lawyers don't bother to do that. And so if somebody's actually reading your blog rather than just clicking on it, then they may be somebody worth engaging. But what do you do to make them care? Well, you provide them an outlet for not only absorbing information, but also for interacting with it. And we'll get to that in a moment. And then what makes them share your blog posts. So in terms of all of these things, we'll get a little more in detail on those in just a moment. But I want to share this slide with you, which is basically identical to the slide that I showed you a few moments ago about finding lawyers to listen to. And that's for a reason. These things all have common denominators. And if you are using those common denominators, it becomes very simple. So if you're on LawLytics, interact with the LawLytics network. If you're prolific on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, your local associations, interact with them. If all else fails, start Googling and finding other lawyers' blogs. So how do you stand out? Well, you stand out by reaching out and engaging. And to do this, there are a number of different ways. I'm going to focus on these four, and we'll go into into more detail on each of these in a moment. But the high level overview is you want to comment on other lawyers' blogs. It doesn't take very much time and it's pretty easy. If you have comments enabled on your own blog, and we'll talk about the reasons for and maybe why you might not want to do that in a moment, but answer those comments. Don't just leave them hanging there in a vacuum. Then you want to draw inspiration from other lawyers' blog posts. And finally, you want to share their blog posts on social media and really other ways as well, such as emailing and talking about them if you're giving a presentation, that type of thing. So first of all, commenting on other lawyers' blogs. Well, it's very difficult to find in the online literature that talks a lot about legal marketing. It's very difficult to find a clear definition of why this matters, and it matters to them, and it should matter to you as well. And here's why. When you make a comment on another lawyer's blog post, assuming that that comment is substantive, it's thoughtful, and it really acknowledges what's going on in the content of that post, their posts become more influential with your comment. And look at it this way. If I'm a lawyer and I have a blog and I've written a post, well, that's just my opinion. And there's really nothing for a non-lawyer potential client to be able to tell whether what I'm saying is correct, whether it's thought-provoking, whether it is original or anything like that. When you as another lawyer get onto my blog and start commenting on my posts, if you say, "Hey Dan, this is great. This is how the law works in our jurisdiction, which is a little bit different from your jurisdiction. It's interesting to see that the trends in your jurisdiction are going that way because of X, Y, and Z." Well, so what happens at that point is my post became more valuable to me because you've created additional content on there that's thoughtful. You've also, as a thought leader yourself, given some additional legitimacy to what I've written on my blog as well. And for you, when you comment on my blog, your comment benefits you because it creates additional points of impression for you. So and this is the case with most blogs, although some of them need some extra hacking to be able to do this. But if you're on LawLytics, and I'm on LawLytics, and you go to my blog and you make a comment, either directly on my blog or through the LawLytics network, your information is going to appear on my blog. And so it's basically going to say whatever your comment is, assuming that I approve it, and then it's going to show who you are. If you use the LawLytics network to comment, then your picture will be there as well, and it will link back to your profile on your LawLytics powered website. And this is important to you because if there's something that is influential and thought provoking on the post that you're commenting on, and you're adding additional information to that, well, people that are really interested in absorbing that substantive content are going to oftentimes want to dig deeper. And so they're going to see, oh, here's this other person that wrote this thoughtful comment on Dan's blog, and he seems to know a little bit about how that works in Minnesota, whereas Dan's talking about Arizona, for example. Well, it's highly likely that at that point, that person is going to end up coming to your website because of what they saw on this other person, in this example, my blog. Every time you comment on my blog or vice versa, the content on that page is refreshed and it adds depth, obviously. So what happens when the comment is added mechanically within LawLytics, and this is the way it should work on most systems that are worth their salt. When you comment on my LawLytics powered blog, what happens is we have a sitemap that tells Google and the other search engines when a page was published and when it was updated. Well, every time a new comment comes in, that sitemap refreshes and the date gets updated automatically to say, okay, there's fresh content there. And so it has the effect of having the search engine start coming back to it. And the more a search engine sees that that substantive content is being added to a page, the more authority it will give that page. And in addition to that, it adds depth for your readers as well. And there's also a rebounding effect that if somebody comes to my blog and they read it and there's no comments, they may comment, they may not, but they're likely to just go away. But if they come to my blog after I have already gotten several comments on there, interacted with those comments and so forth, well, they can read what I'm saying about it, but then they can scroll down and see what other lawyers are saying about it and what other people are saying. It doesn't necessarily have to be lawyers, but they see that there's an ongoing conversation. And the nature of this with the ongoing conversation is that it draws people back into your blog post. So if they've gotten information that they like there and that's relevant to them, they may bookmark it, they may remember it, they may remember you, and they may keep coming back. And that familiarity, when it comes to a potential client, breeds a higher likelihood that when they're ready to engage an attorney, they will reach out to you. But it also, if you're an attorney and you're coming to my law firm's blog to revisit comments that are made on a post that's the subject that you're interested in, and you keep coming back every day or every week and you see that there's new information there, you are exposed to my website at the same time, because your blog should be built into your website, and with LawLytics, obviously it is. So you see my name, you see my logo, you see my phone number, and you see me as really the moderator of this high-level conversation. And so if you're a lawyer and you keep doing that, then when you get a case that comes across your desk that you need to make a referral, and I'm a good fit for that referral, you're going to have a lot more confidence in making that referral to me, because one, you understand that I understand what I'm doing based on the interactions and the content on the blog. But I'm also top of mind. And even though you may know other people that you could refer to, you see that I'm engaged, I'm there, I'm talking about exactly the problem that you need to refer. And you feel more confident in making that referral to me because you know that I'm engaged, I'm passionate about it. So there's some other values as well. So when you comment on other lawyers' blogs, it often leads to new lines of thinking. And oftentimes what will happen is you'll write a comment on some lawyer's blog and you'll ask them a question or something. And it will open up a whole new topic, a whole new blog post. And this happens a lot of times with very prolific bloggers. So you bring up a point, it could be a counterpoint, whatever the case is, it may result in them writing a new blog post. And in that blog post, they may say, well, Attorney Jones was on my blog and commented on this other post, and they'll link back to the post and they may link back to you. One way or the other, if they link back to their post, which they're always going to do, if you've done this in the LawLytics network, there's going to be a link back to your profile on your LawLytics website ultimately anyways. And so it's just a way of getting them there in a way that is organic. It happens naturally. It's not forced in any way. And it's really following the information trail, which is what you want people to do, especially referral sources, but also highly educated potential clients. And when you are engaged with other highly engaged bloggers, oftentimes there will be debates on the blog. So for example, if I have my law firm's blog and you come and you comment on something that you think I am mischaracterizing or I'm unfairly predicting, or let's say it's a pending Supreme Court case and we don't know which way it's going to go, and you're arguing against the position that I've taken, well, as a blogger who values that flow of information, I like that. It adds depth to it. It adds perspective. And if you can get those kind of debates going on your blog, you're so far ahead of other lawyers that are out there in terms of thought leadership that you can almost overnight become a national figure in terms of whatever area you're looking at. When people comment on your blog, First of all, you need to make a decision whether you're going to allow comments on your blog. And with LawLytics, you can, in each blog post, decide, do I want comments to be open or not? And what happens, for those of you who don't know or haven't used it regularly, when somebody, if you've enabled comments on your LawLytics blog, and it's a matter of checking or unchecking a box, and somebody comes to your blog and comments on it, it does not automatically get posted on your blog. You will get a notice in your LawLytics control panel that the comment is there for you to approve. And if you decide to approve it, then you can comment directly in response to it. The comment will get nested, so there'll be context within the individual conversations on that blog page. But you need to really make a threshold decision of whether you want to deal with that, because if you open your blog to comments and you don't have the time or the inclination to respond to those comments or approve them or not, at whatever the case may be, in a timely fashion, people who spend time to write thoughtful comments on your blog will only do it once or twice before they realize that they're not going to get published. So what happens when somebody goes and comments on your blog, assuming that it's not a spammer, and we'll get to that in a moment, but if I go to your blog and I see something that's really intriguing to me, we're talking about the commoditization of the legal industry. We're talking about some topic that I'm really passionate about. I go and I write a thoughtful comment. It takes me 10, 15 minutes to write it, and I press send or publish or whatever the case may be. And then I wait and I look, well, did that appear on the blog immediately? Oh, if it didn't, well, then what's happening? It's probably because I've done this a lot. I know that it's probably in a moderation queue. Well, so that's fine. Lawyers are busy. You're in court during the day or whatever. I don't expect it to be approved instantly or even within the next hour. But the next day or 2 days later, I go back and I look and you still haven't published it. I'm discouraged. And I don't know, am I being censored? Am I being unfairly excluded by you? Or are you just ignoring it or ignoring me? Either way, it has an absolute contrary effect to the effect that you want to have on me when that happens. So I've posted on your blog, and if you don't approve the post and give me some kind of response back, I may very well not only not think of you the next time I have a referral to make. If I do think of you, I may think, well, geez, I thought this guy knew what he was doing, and I really liked what he was saying about these things, but he didn't acknowledge me, and I spent all this time and effort, trying to interact with him, and I really respect his opinion, but I just, I kind of don't want to engage because last time I didn't get any response at all, so I'm going to go refer somewhere else. The main problem that lawyers have with opening up their blogs to comments is spam. And at LawLytics, we have built-in spam filters, but they're not going to catch everything. And the reason is it's impossible. If somebody writes something that sounds legitimate, there's no way to have a computer say, well, this is or this isn't, or this is taking a position that is self-serving only. The most frequent types of spam comments that you get are webmasters. And unfortunately, a lot of these come from other webmasters that attorneys have hired in order to do quote unquote SEO for their law firms. And here's what happens. They sell you, the lawyer, who's signed up with them not knowing any better, the idea that they're going to go out and get you links. And so what they do then is they go to other lawyers' websites, especially those that are ranking well, and they make comments and they say something like, this is a great post, thanks for sharing. And then they put a link back to the lawyer's website. Well, one, this not only is going to go directly to spam in most cases, but two, most of the time it's recognized as such. But if you are moderating your LawLytics blog and you see comments like that come in, recognize it for what it is. It's spam. It's harmful to you. It's harmful to the attorney who is paying somebody unwittingly to do this as well. And so not only don't approve it, delete it. But if you know the attorney, especially, it might be a good idea to go to that attorney and say, hey, I know you engaged this company that's been doing this. I'm assuming that it's not you, the attorney, that's actually writing on my blog and trying to get links back. But one, it kind of makes you look bad because it makes you look like you're trying to like graffiti on my website things about you to promote yourself. And two, I know you, and I know that you're not like that, but other lawyers are not going to. And so if this web guy, in a misguided attempt to get you ranking, is going out and spamming other lawyers' blogs, it's going to inadvertently get you a bad reputation. And so be vigilant of that. But assuming that you've made the decision that you're going to be engaging in comments on your blog, one, you want to make sure that you answer the comments and approve them in a timely manner. You want to answer thoughtful comments with thoughtful answers. So if somebody writes a dissertation on the nuances of what you've talked about and adds something new, don't just answer thanks and think that that's good enough. One of the things that it does is it makes them look more authoritative than you. And two, it's bad form. It's bad etiquette. It's not going to inspire them to keep coming back and writing thoughtful comments on your blog. And so you want to take the time to answer them thoughtfully. It doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of time, even a couple sentences. Great point. I didn't think about it that way. Or great point. Also, did you hear about the new case that's in front of the Court of Appeals right now that is doing X, Y, and Z? That type of thing. And if you ask questions as part of your answers, or part of your responses to their comments, rather, those follow-up questions will not only add to the content on your site, it will keep the people that are commenting engaged. It will show them that, not only are you grateful that they're interacting with your website, but it will also induce them to come back and keep interacting with it. And in that way, as I already talked about, you benefit and they benefit. So it becomes a very mutually beneficial interaction that can keep self-perpetuating. And in terms of sharing, you're going to share other pieces of content in your comments only if they add relevant information. So, for example, if somebody goes to my blog and reads a post and comments on it, and they ask a question, or they give an answer that, maybe I agree with, maybe I don't, but they haven't given the whole context of what they've proffered in their response. But I know that 3 weeks ago, I wrote a blog post about that very thing on my website. Well, what I could do then is, in my response to them, say, hey, Bob, thanks for that great insight. I actually addressed that 3 weeks ago, and your points are spot on. Here's a link to that article. Well, what happens at that point? Well, not only does it lead other readers that are interested in what's being discussed to your previous blog post. When Bob sees that, here's your appreciation, and sees that there's additional information, well, guess what? Bob's going to click on that link as well. And when Bob clicks on that link and goes to your other post, Bob's already had something to say about it, right? Bob's going to read it, and it's highly likely that Bob is going to have something else to say and comment on that as well. And so this whole thing becomes an online conversation that can really perpetuate itself in a way that takes on a life of its own. And it is so far superior to engaging somebody to do SEO, to engage somebody to do social media, basically just broadcasting stuff out there. It's night and day difference. It's really a matter of potentially sustaining and getting some kind of return, to getting really an unlimited return on the investment of your time or the money you spent to have this built. And it becomes an asset that doesn't keep needing to be fed once you have these posts in place. So oftentimes when you become a prolific blogger, you get to a point where, well, I'm writing once a week, or I'm writing once a day, or even I'm writing 3 times a day when it really catches fire, and you see that this is not going to just add a little bit of business to your practice, but it's going to add millions of dollars a year to your practice, because it's really, from my perspective, it's so much fun to watch as attorneys get this. They start interacting with the material out there. They start using the LawLytics system to its fullest, and they start seeing that kind of growth. And then they say, "This is something that is really worthwhile for me to devote my time to," not only because it's bringing in business, which is awesome, but because it's bringing in business in a way that's consistent with who I am as an attorney. Because as an attorney, I see myself as much as an educator about our laws as an advocate in a lot of respects. And so by educating people, I'm also fulfilling part of my reasons for becoming a lawyer and staying a lawyer that really can't be fulfilled in just working off cases in an advocacy capacity. So there's that as well. But say you're at that point, what's going to happen almost naturally, but I want you to start thinking about this early on, is that you're going to be interacting with other lawyers' blogs. They're going to be interacting with your blog. You're going to inspire them. They're going to inspire you. And so what you can do when you go to a blog and you see a great post that you love, there's not only the ability to comment on it, but at that point you can also write your own blog post about it. It's not stealing, it's adding to the online conversation. Certainly you don't want to just copy what they've said, but prolific bloggers appreciate getting quoted in context. So if you see something about the Supreme Court case that's coming down the pike, and you've read it and you have a different position, well, certainly comment on their blog about it, have that interaction. But then if you have a lot more to say about it, say, hey Bobby, you've inspired me to write this, to write my own post on it. I'm going to cover these angles. I'll let you know when it's posted. You can even put that on the comment of their blog post, and then use it. But when you use that as the topic, say, look, I was at Bob's blog and I was reading this, and it really inspired me to write something additional. And when you talk about where you were inspired, give them a link back to their blog post, so that people not only can understand what inspired you and get that context, which you're going to be adding to, which adds to the overall online conversation, but Bob will appreciate it, and Bob will appreciate it because it will, one, it acknowledges him. There's no greater motivation than being acknowledged for your hard work, especially when you're pouring passion into it. And then there's certainly the benefit with the search engines of having people be able to find you through. Find Bob rather through your website and so forth. But all that is really ancillary. It's really about the human interaction. And so you can use it for agreement pieces that you expand on. You can use it for counterpoints. When you quote them, make sure you put it in block quotes. And whenever you quote them, add a link back to their blog with that quote, even if you've already linked to it before. It gives the reader an easy context to be able to go and visit that blog. And one of the questions that I often get when I'm talking about this with our LawLytics clients is, well, do I really want them to leave my website and go to this other attorney's website? And it's very counterintuitive because in a lot of places I am on record saying quite the opposite. So, for example, if you are going to embed, let's say, an AVO badge on your website, or a super lawyer's badge on your website, or any of the other hundreds of awards that are out there, those badges take people from a place where you have them as a captive audience when they click on them, to a place where they're exposed to not only you, but all of your competitors and a lot of other distractions as well. And so I want to draw a contrast. So in that scenario, it is not good to have the link out to a place that you don't own, you don't control, and basically causes them to be their attention rather to be scattered to the wind. But when you're talking about influencing through blogging, it's quite a different story. So if I am writing a substantive piece and I have another lawyer, especially a non-competitor, but it can even be a competitor because this is how the flow of information works in a quid pro quo fashion on the internet, linked to it. And I don't mind if I'm losing the interested reader to that other blog post as long as it's going to add information to that reader's understanding of the subject. And here's why. I may lose a client here or there from doing that, but I'm going to gain more than I lose in the form of trust. When I'm out there and I'm a thought leader and I'm very confident that that I know what I'm talking about, and I'm interacting with other high-level thought leaders. When I'm practicing law, I don't mind if I lose a client to another lawyer that I respect, who I know is going to serve that client well. What bothers the crap out of me, though, as a practicing lawyer, is that if I am giving all this great information, I'm conducting myself honorably, I'm giving every client my all, and I'm getting great results, and I lose that potential client to a prolific marketer who I know does not serve that client's interests well. Those people are not out there blogging, though. They're not blogging in a way that you would want to interact with. And so it's a whole different thing. So when I send somebody from my blog to your blog, and I know that you're an awesome attorney and that you know what you're talking about and you're passionate about it, I'm going to get a lot of credit for not only doing that referral in the minds of you and of the potential client as well. It's going to give me a lot of credibility in my security as a great lawyer, that I don't really care where my potential clients go, even if they're to my competitors, because I know what I do, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, I know that I deliver value, and I know that the vast majority of clients that understand that are either going to go to me or to this person that I'm interacting with. And so as long as we don't lose those good clients to mediocre lawyers who are just advertising the heck out of something, then that's okay with me. And I think it's something that a lot of lawyers are not necessarily comfortable with, but it's something that those who are really benefit in terms of thought leadership and drawing referrals. And then finally, sharing on social media. So social media is a topic of much confusion and misunderstanding amongst lawyers. We have a lot of lawyers who contact us for their initial consultation to see if they want to move over to LawLytics, and they're convinced that they have to do a lot of social media marketing. They don't understand it. It's this esoteric term, kind of like SEO used to be. Now SEO is basically just creating good content and avoiding tricks like backlinks and directory submissions and all those things that any webmaster worth their salt now understands is not only useless, but can be counterproductive at times. But in terms of social media, there's this mystique. It's for the young kids. It's for people that have a lot of time that are on there. It doesn't necessarily make sense to a lot of lawyers, but they hear that they need to be on it. And so they want to immediately engage somebody to do it for them. Well, that's not really how social media works in its purest form. And so what you want to do is look at it as a layered approach. You want people going from social media. And like I said, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn are really the only three that are worthwhile in any to warrant any quantity of your time at this point. But you want people going from those social media outlets back to your website where you have them as a captive audience, not the other way around. And so it's a very rare case where you would want to link to social media from your firm's blog or from a blog post. But when you do a new blog post, it is always worthwhile to share it with your network. And I'm not saying share it with, you just broadcast it out there based on your firm's Facebook page. There's a marginal return on that, and it's not even really worth the effort. What I'm talking about is through your personal network. It's through your personal network because your friends and your acquaintances are going to read your stuff because they care about you, and then they're going to share it when it's useful. And unless you have exactly the same set of friends, there's an amplification effect that happens. But how much time should you spend doing it? Very little at first. The bulk of your time should be spent on doing the other blogging engagement tactics that we talked about. And and once you've gotten that down and you've gotten a good foundation, then you can venture into a little more interactivity. But at the beginning, when you write a blog post using your LawLytics website, when you publish it, just check the box to automatically announce it to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you are actually on social media already, like if you're one of the silent majority, I'm sure that is on Facebook daily or at least weekly. Well, while you're there, you might as well share your thoughts, put in a link to your website and so forth. And then once you've done that, and once you've accomplished all the other objectives, then you can start engaging in light conversations on social media. So, for example, if somebody is writing about something that's very interesting to you and relevant to your practice, certainly comment on it and even share a link to your blog post, as long as it's relevant and doesn't seem spammy. Back to that, but social media, in the whole spectrum of things, it's just an amplification device. It's not. It's a tool. It's not anything that needs to be done separately. And for most law firms, if you're hiring somebody to manage your social media, unless you have a huge following, and I'm talking thousands and thousands of active followers, not the followers that when you create your company Facebook page, it says ask these people to follow or like your company's page, and you do it, and you go through and you check who all your friends are, and it sends them out, and 50% of your friends the first day like it, because there's really no effort involved. But a lot of times they will do that without even going to the page, or they'll go there once and they'll never ever be back again. So those are vanity metrics. What we're talking about in terms of blogging at an advanced level here is really engagement and thought leadership. So social media is something that you can kind of grow into, but don't obsess about it now. Until you're a very elite blogger, and it just doesn't really make sense to spend a whole lot of time on it. We're going to get to the questions. I see there was a couple questions that have been asked, and I'll get to those in just a moment. And we're just about to wrap the substantive portion of this up. I'm not going to do a demo of the LawLytics network today because the vast majority of the people in this webinar are already LawLytics members, and you have access to be able to explore yourself. But I just want to put it out there that using the LawLytics network, and this is for those of you who are not on LawLytics yet, this is just a screenshot of one corner of the LawLytics network. What the LawLytics network does is allow you to follow other attorneys who are on LawLytics who are blogging. And when they blog, they can categorize it. So here you'll see all topics, and then business, criminal, and so forth. You can follow whatever topics you want. And when they blog, rather than having to follow them and go to their individual blogs, you can follow them right within the LawLytics network, and you can comment on their blogs from within the safety and convenience of the LawLytics network. And then once the attorney that owns the website that you've commented on approves that blog post, then it appears live on their blog, just as if you had gone from the public and posted it there. And so it can be a big time saver. It can also be a good way to catalyze your topic selection and to make new friends and get new referral sources as well. So with that, I am going to wrap up the substantive portion of this. We'll get to questions in just a moment. For those of you who need to drop off, I know we're right at the hour at this point. Feel free to do so. This webinar has been recorded and will be available online for those of you who want to either revisit or look at the slides or whatever. I anticipate we'll have it available about midweek next week. Before those of you who are going to drop off before the questions and answers do so, we have 3 webinars coming up next week, which is an unusual week. Usually we have 1 or 2. So next Tuesday, we have our regular monthly fourth Friday legal marketing update. And Larry Bodine and I do that together. It's moderated by Tori Blute, who is our community manager here at LawLytics. And what we do is we look at the trending topics for the last month that affect lawyers and their online marketing, and we just have a conversation about it. And it's always interesting to see where it leads and what questions we get. Last month we tackled the issue of there was a new advisory opinion, I think it was, from New Jersey regarding the use of accolade advertising, specifically super lawyers and some others within New Jersey for New Jersey licensed attorneys. And Larry added some fascinating perspective to that. So all of our webinars are at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and that's always the case. So that one is next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, we have a webinar called Effective Deployment of Multiple Law Firm Websites. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the previous webinar that we did about building niche law firm websites, and that is available on demand. You can always get any of our on-demand webinars by going to lawlytics.com/webinars. And so this will kind of go into more detail about not only how to effectively deploy multiple law firm websites, recognize when you need them, when you don't, but also show you how LawLytics helps you coordinate all of the information within multiple websites. So you don't have to do things over and over again. So that saves you time and effort and allows you to really focus on what builds your sustainable marketing infrastructure in a way that can grow your ROI effectively. And then finally, next Thursday, we're going to be addressing a topic that is the source of a lot of confusion and millions, if not billions of dollars wasted by attorneys every year. And that is pay-per-click marketing, remarketing. And in the context of that, we're going to be talking about landing pages as well. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about cases where attorneys may want to do pay-per-click marketing, what that looks like, how to recognize and avoid conflicts of interest, how to avoid traps, and how to understand when, if you are engaging in pay-per-click marketing, you're getting ripped off because your pages are not optimized to convert the traffic that you are paying for. So that's next Thursday. So if you want to sign up for any of those, you can go to lawlytics.com/webinars. You'll see the on-demand ones say something like watch now and the live ones say register. Look for our LawLytics newsletter this coming Sunday as well, and that will have links to register for all 3 of these webinars as well. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. If anybody has questions, please let us know. If you are not yet a LawLytics member and are considering joining and want to explore the value that we can help add to your law firm, feel free to contact us. The best way to do that is to go to lawlytics.com, and there's a green button at the upper right-hand corner. Just click that, fill it out. You'll get access to our calendar, and we'll schedule a time to talk right online, and then we'll call you at that time. And what we really like to do is explore with you where you are, where you want to go, and really help you eliminate the roadblocks that might be holding you back, the things that might be draining of value rather than adding to it. And once you've identified those, you can go a lot further on a much smaller budget and at the same time create something that is sustainable rather than fleeting. With that, thank you all for attending, and I'm going to end the recording here, and then let's go to the questions. And if you do have questions, if you want to ask additional ones, go to the questions area of the GoToWebinar control panel and put them in there, please, and I'll make sure to get to them. So first question is, why do we want other lawyers as opposed to potential clients to read the blog? And it's not really an either or situation. You want your potential clients to read your blog, certainly. You want your potential clients on your website with your built-in blog as much as you possibly can. The clients are going to be, I mean, that's the more obvious case. And you certainly want them there, and you want to give information in a way that they can understand it, or at least enough for them to understand that it's a very complex topic and you're the expert and they need help. But the lawyer thing is something that most lawyers don't really think about. They're always thinking about their potential clients and where the business is going to come in from directly on the web. And that's because most online marketers and people that sell online marketing are only thinking about that. But there's a multiplication effect that comes in when you also are able to engage other attorneys. So not an or thing. It's an and thing. Does that make sense? And I'll wait if there's any follow-up question on that. And so the next question was, does it violate Google rules to publish a blog on social media, Facebook, as well as on a website? It doesn't violate their rules, so there's no penalty for it. But from a strategic perspective, there is an effect that Google will only give a high ranking to one version of a piece of content. It's very hard to get multiple pieces ranked when they're identical content. This is what most people refer to as the duplicate content penalty. That's simply really all there is to it. If you're using social media and you're blogging, you want to make sure that your blog is the primary destination. So publish to your blog first and always. And when you publish to your blog, if you want to share excerpts of that blog post on social media, great. But the real value of social media comes in taking people from social media who are interested in what you have to say, giving them a small teaser of that information, not the whole thing, enough to induce them to click on the link to go back to your blog, and then they consume the information on your blog. And so you really want to look at social media as bait rather than as substance when it comes to your blog. Now, on the other hand, if you are really into this and you're doing it at a very high level, and you've written, let's say, a glorious substantive piece, 2,000 words on the Supreme Court's stance on gun control, so something that something relevant. It's great. It's a great post. People are sharing it. Potentially, what you would want to do if you have more time and it's a topic that's getting a lot of mileage is you would potentially want to go and create a complementary piece, maybe more of a teaser piece, but use LinkedIn to publish the article or publish it on Facebook or something. But the idea is to just not have the same thing exactly in multiple places. Let's see, there's a follow-up question here. Yeah, so to dive further into the duplicate content penalty, it's not like Google comes and says, you're penalized for this because it's in multiple places. It just has a dilutive effect. And so you just want to make sure that you don't publish it in multiple places simultaneously, especially if you're publishing, let's say, on LinkedIn and your blog and you're publishing them simultaneously. There's a good chance that LinkedIn will rank better than your blog if your blog isn't well established already, and you want to be able to add value to your blog over time. Let's see. Okay, so the question is, in that example, how much would you need to change it to republish it? Well, it's not really a matter of simply rewording it. Certainly, that's what a lot of kind of hacky bloggers do to start out with. Is they take a post that's doing well that maybe somebody else wrote, and they just grab that post and they rewrite it to the point where they could at least make the argument that it's their original thought rather than plagiarism. You don't really want to just think about repurposing the content in that way. You want to think about adding something a little bit different. So maybe there's a little twist on it. Maybe you write about some pending legislation today, And then there's been some additional comments on your blog between today and tomorrow. Tomorrow you go and there's some additional inspiration there. Well, you could, if you've got a large audience on Facebook or LinkedIn, for example, you could write something on there. Maybe your original post is 1,000 words. Maybe you write 200 words in follow up to that. But I don't at all advocate just republishing something for the sake of republishing it. You want to train people that they're going to get great information from you, but they're going to get the most, the vast majority of it on your firm's website and blog rather than in other places. I don't see any other questions that have come in so far. I'm going to start wrapping this up, but if you do have other questions in the next 30 seconds or so, just let me know through the control panel. It's this blogging thing. It's really just networking on a high level, and it's really just like if you see value or have in the past experienced value from joining a legal networking group where you go and once a month have lunch with 16 lawyers and you talk about what you do and somebody gives a presentation or whatever and you refer to each other, that's the same as blogging at a high level. But when you're blogging at a high level, you're doing it in a way that isn't confined to those 1 or 2 hours that you're having that meeting once a month, and you're able to influence people while you're sleeping and while you're in court and while you're doing other things. So there's a leveraging effect of blogging and other content on your website for that matter as well on your time, and it makes a huge difference. The technicalities are mostly trivial, especially since you're on the LawLytics system. Most of those things we automatically protect you from anyways. And if you ever have any questions about, well, should I be doing this extra thing? Just let us know, because oftentimes we can save you a lot of hassle and headache and spending money on some cold caller that called you and wanted to sell you an extra social media bell or whistle. Most of that stuff pales in comparison to just spending that time that you're spending thinking about doing X, Y, or Z additionally to just doing what's working. And the other thing that I would really encourage you to take advantage of when you're in LawLytics is, as you're publishing and you're seeing a flow of new clients come in, um, it's a really good idea to look at what pages are influencing them using the LawLytics reporting functions, and then as you're directing your blogging efforts, you are able to write things that make sense in terms of actually influencing potential clients and referral sources. And so it's just a matter of doing more of what works, exercising strategy, and just working through the problem of how to communicate about you and your practice strategically rather than reactively. And with that, I don't see any other questions that have come in. So I want to thank all of you for attending. Again, if you have questions, let us know, and hope you can join us for any of our 3 webinars that you'd like to next week. Take care.